For the 5th time this month, a delivery driver knocked on my door looking for an order that wasn't mine. Fed up, I taped a note outside. I never order takeout. Whoever keeps using my address for pranks deserves a lifetime of bad luck. A few minutes later, someone knocked again. I yanked open the door and snapped. I didn't order anything. Can you please check the address before bothering me? The driver scratched his head, looking confused. That's strange. I always deliver to this address. Not wanting to argue, I slammed the door shut. Moments later, violent pounding erupted from outside. Furious, I flung the door open, ready to curse out whoever was causing trouble. The words died in my throat the instant I saw who was standing there. The furious pounding on my door suddenly made sense. Standing outside was an enraged family of 4. The man at the front, Curtis Vaughn, slammed his fist against the door and pointed at me. You piece of trash. I finally found you. Wasn't it enough for you to eat and drink for free every day? Now you're trying to destroy us completely? Fine. If I'm going down, I'm taking you with me. Before I could react, he shoved past me and barged into my apartment with his family. You got my restaurant shut down. From now on, you're responsible for feeding my entire family. That was the last straw. What the hell is wrong with you people? I snapped. I'm going to sue you for breaking into someone's home in broad daylight. The woman, Shelby Vaughn, stormed up to me and let out a cold laugh. Go ahead. Sue us. We've got nothing left anyway. Since we can't survive out there, we'll just live here from now on. I stared at her, completely baffled. Seriously? Are you all out of your minds? Your restaurant got shut down, so what? What does that have to do with me? Why should I let you stay in my home? Curtis looked at me with undisguised contempt. Didn't think this day would come when you were scamming free meals, did you? You look like a decent person on the outside, but you're disgusting. Scamming free meals? I had never done anything as despicable as that in my life. There had to be some kind of misunderstanding. Unfortunately, they weren't interested in listening. Left with no other choice, I called the police. About 15 minutes later, 2 officers arrived. The moment they walked through the door, Curtis, who'd been raging moments ago, instantly switched to a pitiful expression. Officers, you've got to help ordinary folks like us. This guy kept ordering food from our restaurant over and over. Every single time, he'd claim there was a hair in the food or a bug in the dish. Then he'd threaten us, saying if we didn't issue a full refund, he'd leave negative reviews. We had no choice but to refund him every time. But a few days ago, he ordered from us again. This time he claimed our food made him sick and demanded compensation for medical bills. It came up to $100,000. There's no way we could afford that much money. So he posted videos online saying our food was unsanitary. He got people to flood us with bad reviews and even reported us to the authorities, demanding an investigation. Now our delivery listings have been removed, and the restaurant has been shut down. My 2 kids don't even have money for school anymore. The more Curtis spoke, the more aggrieved he sounded. By the end, his eyes were red with emotion. Meanwhile, I was staring at him in disbelief. Everything he described was completely foreign to me. I had never done any of it. That's not true, I immediately said. As if Curtis had been expecting my denial, he pulled out his phone. Officer, look for yourself. Do you think I'd make something like this up? The records are all here. The address, the apartment number, the chat history. And he's still trying to deny it. The officers carefully checked the information before asking me to verify it. The delivery address on the orders was indeed my apartment, but I hadn't placed a single one of them. Suddenly, a thought flashed through my mind. Over the past month, delivery drivers had shown up at my door multiple times by mistake. I finally understood why. Someone had been using my address to scam restaurants. Everything clicked into place. No wonder the scammer had been bold enough to demand $100,000 right off the bat. Even if the restaurant tried to track them down, the only person they would ever find was me. Whoever was behind this was unbelievably calculating. I immediately explained my theory to the officers. Unfortunately, the Vaughns refused to believe a word of it. They insisted I was lying. With neither side willing to back down, the situation quickly reached a stalemate. Seeing no other way forward, I asked for 3 days to investigate the matter and promised I would give them a satisfactory explanation. The officers helped persuade Curtis, and after a long argument, the Vaughns reluctantly agreed to leave. As soon as they were gone, I headed to the property management office with the police and reviewed the security footage, but we found nothing. Nonetheless, if the culprit had done it once, they would do it again. And next time, I'd be waiting. I immediately ordered a smart video door lock online and had it installed that very evening. Whenever someone passed by my apartment, the system would automatically record video footage. The next afternoon, a notification popped up on my phone. Someone had lingered outside my door for a few seconds. I quickly opened the app to check. It was a delivery driver. He left a package at my door and then headed for the elevator. 3 minutes later, another notification appeared. This time, someone had stayed outside my door for more than 10 seconds. It was Derek Sutton, the neighbor from upstairs. I recognized him because we'd had an unpleasant misunderstanding 2 months earlier. A strong gust had blown his wife's lingerie onto my balcony that day. Not wanting to touch something so personal, I'd asked her to come retrieve it herself. To my surprise, Derek had shown up as well. The moment he saw me, he started accusing me of having an inappropriate relationship with his wife. Fortunately, she dragged him away before the situation turned into a full-blown argument. I grabbed my phone and rushed upstairs, then pounded on his door. I knocked for quite a while, but there was no response from inside. Finally, I raised my voice toward the door. "If you don't come out right now, I'll expose everything you've been doing." The next second, the door flew open. Derek stood there with an impatient look on his face. "What is it?" I got straight to the point. "Why are you using my address when you order food?" He immediately played dumb. "What are you talking about? I have no idea what you mean." I said, "Why are you using my address when you order food? Do you have any proof? If not, get lost." He rolled his eyes and started closing the door. I blocked it with one hand. "Still not admitting it? Then take a look at this. Isn't that you?" The video on my phone clearly showed him sneaking over to collect the delivery. Seeing that, he immediately changed his story. "I'm protecting my privacy. The internet is so advanced these days. I'm just looking out for my own safety. That's not illegal, is it?" His response was so ridiculous I almost laughed. "So protecting your privacy means making me take the blame for everything? How can you be this shameless?" He rolled his eyes. "What's that got to do with me? If you've got a problem, call the police." With that, he slammed the door shut. A surge of anger rose in my chest. So he wanted to play dirty? Then I'd make sure he didn't get a single delivery ever again. The next day, around lunchtime, my phone alerted me that someone was outside my door again. The delivery driver set down the order, took a photo and left. I immediately opened the door and brought the food inside. It was a deluxe surf and turf feast worth $199. Less than 2 minutes after I carried it in, my phone buzzed again. I hurried over and waited by the door. Derek didn't dare call. Instead, he sent a voice message to the driver through the delivery app. "What's going on? Where's my food? Are you messing with me? Did you take it after you snapped the photo? I'm warning you, I spent almost $200 on that meal. Bring it back right now." He glanced toward my apartment a couple of times before stomping upstairs in frustration. A few minutes later, the same delivery driver returned. The two of them stood outside my door. I was in a hurry to make my next delivery. I left it here, took the photo, and left. "Why would I take your food?" the driver said, looking aggrieved. Derek wasn't interested in listening. He lit a cigarette. "My deliveries have never gone missing before. So why did it disappear when you were the one delivering it today? I don't care. You're paying for it. You don't want a complaint filed against you, do you? Tell you what. Give me $300 and we'll call it even." "Why should I?" The argument quickly escalated. I opened the door, still holding the takeout container in my hand. "Are you looking for this?" The moment they heard me speak, both of them froze. Derek rushed over and snatched the food from my hands. "What the hell is wrong with you? You even steal other people's food? Can't afford to feed yourself?" I immediately turned to the delivery driver. "Hey, did you deliver it to the wrong place? My girlfriend told me she bought me lunch. When I opened the door and saw this sitting outside, I assumed it was from her." The driver quickly pulled out his phone and checked the order several times. "No mistake. This is the 12th floor, right? The note says to leave it here, and the apartment number is 1201. He glanced at Derek. "You don't even live here. Why would you tell us to leave it here? You're just creating trouble for no reason." Derek's face darkened instantly. "What the hell does it have to do with you? You're a delivery driver. Just deliver it wherever I tell you and shut up. Keep talking, and I'll file a complaint against you." After cursing him out, Derek turned and headed upstairs through the emergency stairwell. I thought that after this incident, he might finally learn his lesson and stop pulling this kind of stunt. Unexpectedly, another delivery showed up outside my door that evening. I took it downstairs and tossed it into the trash along with the garbage from my apartment. When I came back upstairs, Derek was once again standing outside my door arguing with a delivery driver. The moment he saw me, he pointed a finger in my direction. "Was it you who stole my food? You pathetic freeloader. I caught you once at lunchtime, and now you've got the nerve to steal it again tonight?" I played dumb. "What food? I have no idea what you're talking about." Derek immediately turned to the delivery driver. "Well, I never got my order. If you won't admit it, then you can pay for it. Triple compensation." Just like that, he shifted the conflict onto me and the driver. The driver panicked and quickly turned to me. "Come on, man, don't joke around. That fried chicken costs more than $200. I don't even make that much in a day. I left it right here. You really didn't see it? I'm just a college student working part-time. If that order is gone, I'll basically be working for free for 2 days." Meanwhile, Derek stood there with his arms folded across his chest, looking thoroughly pleased with himself. You definitely took it. Stealing food just to survive? Looks like you really can't make ends meet. I repeated the same trick I'd used at lunchtime, and had the driver verify the address on the order. The driver rubbed his eyes and checked it 3 separate times before finally confirming there had been no delivery mistake. This is my apartment, all right. But I didn't order any food. Why are you asking me about a missing delivery? You don't even live here. Derek remained completely unfazed. You know perfectly well that I always use this address. If you don't hand it over, then this kid will have to pay for it. Then he deliberately stirred things up even further. Don't say I didn't give you a chance. He definitely took it. If you can't get it back, then pay for it yourself. The student driver's eyes were already welling up with tears. I quickly tried to reassure him. It's okay, kid. You won't have to pay a single cent. I've already called the police. We'll wait for them to get here. Derek's expression immediately darkened. He turned as if he intended to leave. Just then the elevator doors opened, and 2 police officers stepped out. I grabbed Derek's wrist and said coldly, "This isn't over yet. Did I say you could leave?" On my way upstairs earlier, I'd already seen through the doorbell camera that Derek had left the delivery driver outside my apartment. That way, if the driver decided to retaliate, he'd come after me instead. There was no way I was going to play along, so I called the police immediately. Knowing he couldn't leave now, Derek had no choice but to come back. He even tried to accuse me first. "Officers, he's the one who stole my delivery." As luck would have it, the 2 officers who arrived were the same ones from last time. They remembered me, which made things much easier. "Officers, I found the person we were looking for last time." I deliberately said that part quietly before raising my voice to say, "Officers, my neighbor insists I stole his delivery, but he lives upstairs. I never even went up there." The delivery driver also said the address on the app was my apartment. I really don't understand what's going on. I did pick up a bag outside my door when I went downstairs to throw out the trash just now, but I thought it was a bag of garbage I'd left there. The delivery driver quickly pulled out the order details and delivery records from the app. Derek's eyes darted around as he started making things up. I was protecting my privacy. Besides, if it wasn't yours, what gave you the right to take it? I let out a cold laugh. Oh, if you wanted to protect your privacy, why didn't you have the driver leave it downstairs? Why leave it outside my apartment? I already took one by mistake at lunchtime and warned you about it. You still didn't learn your lesson tonight. How is that my fault? Besides, I usually leave garbage outside my door. Aren't you worried about your food getting dirty if you leave it there? As I spoke, I pulled out my phone and replayed what had happened at lunchtime. Derek's face turned ugly. You did this on purpose, didn't you? No wonder I had diarrhea yesterday. So it was because of you. I'm going to the hospital tomorrow, and if they find anything wrong, you'll pay for it. Even the officers seemed speechless at his behavior, though they couldn't say much because of their position. I continued mockingly. If you go dig through the dumpster downstairs now, it might still be warm. Derek looked like he was about to explode. His eyes bulged with rage. After piecing together the entire situation, the officers stopped humoring him. Sir, using someone else's address for your deliveries is also an invasion of their privacy. And she already warned you about it. You refused to change it. If your food went missing, she bears no responsibility. The loss is yours to bear. The driver delivered it exactly where the order instructed. Since you specifically requested that it be left at the door, don't make things difficult for him. I smiled at the delivery driver. You heard them. You didn't do anything wrong. Go finish your deliveries. If they deduct money from your pay, call the police and come find him. The driver thanked both the officers and me before hurrying into the elevator. Worried that Derek would try to pull another refund scam later, I twisted the knife a little further. Officers, if he files for a refund again and ends up provoking a driver into coming after him, would that count as creating a public disturbance? The officers froze for 2 seconds before their expressions immediately turned serious. You have children at home. If you end up with a criminal record, it could affect their future opportunities. That's right. Delivery drivers have it hard enough as it is. You're an adult. If you make a mistake, you need to take responsibility for it yourself. This isn't even your first time. We couldn't find you last time, but if we have to come back again, you'll be explaining yourself at the station. Derek opened and closed his mouth several times. Whatever he wanted to say, he ultimately swallowed it. All he could do was slink upstairs in defeat. The delivery scam problem had finally been resolved. What I didn't expect was that cutting off Derek's path to free meals would make him hold a grudge against me. The quiet inside my apartment lasted for exactly 2 days. On Thursday night, around 11:30 p.m., the ceiling above my bedroom began to vibrate. It started with a rhythmic, heavy thumping, like someone repeatedly lifting a bowling ball and letting it drop straight onto the floorboards. I sat up in bed, looking at the ceiling. The light fixture rattled in its housing. Thud, thud, thud. It wasn't random movement. It was synchronized, deliberate, and directly above where my head lay. I pulled out my phone, opened the building's official resident messaging app, and recorded a 15-second video of the ceiling shaking, complete with the timestamp clearly visible. Then I sent a polite message to the property management group chat. 12:01. Hi management, Unit 1301 is creating severe impact noise directly above my bedroom at 11:35 p.m. Could you please remind them of the building's quiet hours policy? Within 30 seconds, Derek replied in the group. He didn't even try to hide behind a private message. 13:01 Derek. My kid fell off the bed. Am I not allowed to let my kid move in his own home? Stop being so overly sensitive. If you can't stand living in an apartment, go buy a private villa. A few neighbors who were still awake chimed in, pointing out that 11:35 p.m. was well past quiet hours, but Derek ignored them. 10 minutes later, the thumping stopped, replaced by the sharp, dragging sound of heavy furniture being scraped back and forth across the hardwood floor. He was testing my patience. He wanted me to run upstairs, lose my temper, and give him a reason to call the police on me for physical confrontation or harassment. Instead of going upstairs, I got out of bed, walked over to my desk, and opened my laptop. I didn't care about his noise games. What I cared about was closing every loophole he had ever used. I pulled up the contact information I had taken down when the police visited 2 days prior. I dialed the cell phone number Curtis Vaughn had left on the official police incident sheet. The line rang 4 times before a tired, rough voice picked up. Hello? Who is this? Mr. Vaughn, I said calmly. This is the resident from apartment 1201. The one you barged into 2 days ago. The line went dead silent. For a second, I thought he was going to hang up or start screaming again, but his voice came back, heavy with caution. What do you want? The police already told us you weren't the one who placed the orders. I thought we were done. We are done, I said. Unless you want the name, apartment number, and security footage of the man who actually ruined your restaurant. I heard a sudden shift in the background, the rustle of a chair being pushed back, followed by Shelby Vaughn's muffled voice asking who was on the phone. You have proof? Curtis asked, his voice suddenly sharp and tight. I have 4 separate high-definition video clips of my upstairs neighbor Derek Sutton from apartment 1301, coming down to my floor to snatch the food deliveries left at my door, I said smoothly. I also have the official police incident report number from tonight, where officers formally warned him in person about using false addresses to trigger platform refunds. A harsh, ragged intake of breath came through the receiver. Send it to me, Curtis rasped. Send me everything you have. I'll do better than that, I replied. I'll email you the raw video files, the police report reference numbers, and the contact info for the delivery student who was forced to verify the address on camera. If you're filing a civil suit or petitioning the food delivery platform to clear your restaurant's blacklisted status, this evidence will wipe out his defense completely. Why are you helping me? Curtis asked suspiciously. You almost got sued by us. Because he's playing games with my life too, I said flatly. And I prefer to handle pests permanently. The next morning at 8 a.m., I was awakened not by noise from above, but by a wet, slapping sound hitting my balcony glass. I walked out to the living room and pulled back the sheer curtains. Glued to the glass railing of my balcony was a thick, yellowed mess of discarded kitchen grease and soggy vegetable scraps. Looking up, I could see a thin streak leading directly down from the edge of 1301's balcony, directly above mine. Derek had dumped his kitchen waste straight over his railing, letting it splash down onto my property. I didn't yell. I didn't stomp upstairs. I picked up my phone, stepped out onto the balcony, and took 4 high-resolution photos. One of the mess on my glass, one showing the drip line coming from 1301, and one of the timestamp on my watch. Then I called the property management office. Property management, this is Manager Vance. How can I help you? Manager Vance, this is 1201. I need an inspector up here immediately. Unit 1301. Just dumped greasy kitchen refuse over their balcony rail onto my unit. 1201. Manager Vance sounded hesitant. Look, Mr. Sutton from 1301 came by the office yesterday. He mentioned you two have been having some personal friction over delivery packages. Is it possible it was just an accident? Maybe. The wind. Manager Vance. I cut him off, my voice dropping an octave into a cold, measured register. The building lease agreement explicitly states under Clause 14.2 that throwing solid or liquid waste over balcony railings constitutes a high-altitude hazard and a direct violation of building sanitation codes. 3 infractions result in a formal fine and a report to the Municipal Housing Bureau. Silence on the other end. I am giving you 20 minutes to come up and document this in person. I Continued. If property management refuses to enforce its own lease terms, I will hire a private cleaning firm, bill the charge directly to the building's master maintenance account through our resident association, and submit the video proof to the Municipal Sanitation Oversight Department, along with a complaint regarding management's failure to maintain safety. I'll be up in 10 minutes, Manager Vance said quickly. 9 minutes later, Manager Vance arrived with the head of building security. When he saw the thick, foul grease clinging to my balcony glass, his face turned sour. He took pictures and filled out an official building violation notice on the spot. We'll issue a formal written warning and a $200 fine to 1301, Vance promised, looking uncomfortable. I'll also send the cleaning crew up to wash your exterior glass. Thank you, I said politely. Make sure you hand the notice to him in person. While Manager Vance went upstairs to serve the violation, I sat at my computer and checked my email. A notification popped up. It was a reply from Curtis Vaughn's legal counsel. Subject: Evidence regarding fraudulent refund claims. Unit 1301 Adair. Resident: we have reviewed the video files and police report logs provided. This evidence clearly demonstrates a systematic pattern of intentional fraud and malicious commercial disruption executed by Mr. Derek Sutton. We have filed a formal civil petition with the district court today for commercial defamation and revenue loss totaling $114,000, and we have submitted the police report to the delivery platform's legal division to lift the suspension on my client's business. I printed out a copy of the legal acknowledgement, folded it neatly and placed it inside my desk drawer. Derek thought he was playing a game of petty neighborly annoyance. He had no idea the real storm was already rolling down the highway toward him. By Friday evening, Derek realized his petty tricks weren't causing me to crumble, so he decided to change tactics. He tried to turn the whole building against me. At 7:30 p.m., my phone started buzzing continuously with notifications from the building's 200-member WeChat resident group. I opened the app. Derek had posted a long, emotional paragraph accompanied by 2 photos. The photos showed his 6-year-old son crying in their living room, clutching a cheap toy. 1301 Derek: I really didn't want to bring internal building matters into the public group, but I can't take it anymore. The resident in 1201 has been relentlessly harassing my family for weeks. Just because of a small misunderstanding over a delivery package, he constantly calls the police on us, bribes property management to issue fake fines, and even threatened my 6-year-old son in the hallway this afternoon. 1301 Derek: my kid is so terrified he won't stop crying. Everyone, we all live in the same building. How can someone be so heartless and cruel to a child? A man who abuses his power to bully women and children doesn't deserve to live in a civilized community. Immediately, a few uninformed neighbors who didn't know the backstory began typing responses. 804 Mrs. Chun: threatening a child? That's going way too far. 502 Mark: is this true? 1201 always looked like a quiet guy. How could he do that? 1301 Derek: it's 100% true. He even told my kid that if he hears a single sound from our floor, he'll make sure we get kicked out. My wife was so scared she's been crying all evening. I sat on my sofa, holding my phone, watching the messages flood the screen. My expression didn't change at all. In fact, I almost wanted to laugh. He was relying on the classic strategy of playing the weak victim, using public morality to pressure me. He assumed that, to protect my reputation, I would come into the group chat, panic, try to explain myself, and get dragged into an endless, muddy mudslinging match where no one could prove who was right. He completely forgot that my smart door lock recorded 24/7 video and audio of the entire 12th floor hallway. I opened my phone's local storage, selected the video clip from that afternoon. At 3:15 p.m., the exact time Derek claimed I had threatened his son in the hallway, and exported the unedited 4K footage. Then, I opened the resident group chat. I didn't write a single word of defense. I didn't write an angry paragraph. I simply uploaded 3 video files directly into the group. Video 1. The full clip from 3:15 p.m. today. The footage showed me stepping out of the elevator holding a box of groceries. Derek's son was running in the hallway, slamming toy trucks against my front door. I didn't even look at the kid. I walked straight into my apartment and shut the door. The entire interaction lasted 4 seconds, with 0 verbal communication. Video 2. The footage from 2 days ago. Derek crouching outside my door at 12:15 p.m., snatching the $199 surf and turf order, followed by the footage of him arguing with the student driver and trying to extort $300 from him. Video 3. The clip of property management issuing the $200 fine to Derek this morning for throwing kitchen grease onto my balcony. After the 3 videos were posted, The entire 200-person group chat went dead. Silent for a full minute. The silence was deafening. Then the group exploded. 804 Mrs. Chun. Wait a minute. You didn't even talk to the kid? 401. David, holy crap. Look at video 2. He actually stole the delivery package and then tried to scam the delivery kid for $300. 603 Sarah. So he was lying. The whole time? He dumped kitchen grease on someone else's balcony and then claimed he was being bullied. 1102 Mr. Lin. 1301. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Using your own child as a weapon to frame your neighbor? You even posted photos of your kid crying to manipulate us. 502 Mark. That's disgusting. Management. Why haven't you kicked this guy out of the group chat? Derek's phone must have been burning in his hands. Within 2 minutes of the videos going live, he tried frantically to delete his earlier posts, but it was far too late. Dozens of residents had already screenshot his accusations alongside the video proof. 1301 Derek. It was just a misunderstanding. My kid told me he talked to you. You don't have to ruin someone's reputation over this. I finally typed my first and only response in the group chat. 1201. Misunderstanding? Slander, false accusations, and illegal delivery. Theft aren't misunderstandings. My lawyer has saved all chat screenshots from tonight. See you in court, neighbor. After sending the message, I set my phone to do not disturb and went to make myself a cup of tea. By Saturday morning, Derek's standing in the building had completely collapsed. Whenever he or his wife walked through the lobby or took the elevator, other residents would visibly step away, whispering in low, disgusted tones. In an apartment complex filled with working professionals, a neighbor who stole deliveries, dumped grease on balconies, and used his own child to fabricate public lies was an absolute pariah. At 11 a.m., a heavy knock sounded at my door. It wasn't a violent pounding this time. It was 3 slow, timid taps. I opened the smart lock app on my phone and checked the camera feed. Standing outside was Derek's wife, Brenda. She looked entirely different from the arrogant woman who had dragged Derek away during the underwear incident 2 months ago. Her face was pale, her eyes red and swollen, and she was clutching a paper folder against her chest. I pulled the door open, keeping the safety chain engaged. What do you want? I asked flatly. Mr. Lee, Brenda stammered, her voice shaking slightly. Can we talk for 5 minutes? Please. We have nothing to talk about, I said, preparing to shut the door. It's about the lawsuit. Brenda cried out desperately, placing her hand against the doorframe. Please. A process server came to our door an hour ago. The court served Derek with a summons from the restaurant owner, Mr. Vaughn. They're suing him for $114,000. I paused, looking at her through the narrow gap. And we don't have $114,000. Brenda sobbed, tears spilling over her cheeks. Derek only makes $4,000 a month at his logistics job. If we have to pay that money, the court will freeze our assets. We won't be able to pay the mortgage on our apartment. We'll lose everything. Then he shouldn't have stolen food and filed fraudulent refund claims to destroy a family's business, I said coldly. He knows he was wrong. He really knows it now. Brenda pleaded, holding up the paper folder. Look, I brought $5,000 cash. It's all the savings I have right now. If you can just call Mr. Vaughn and ask him to withdraw the lawsuit, and if you delete those videos from the building group, this cash is yours. Please, we have a child. I stared at her face, feeling not a single trace of pity. When they were eating free meals, when they were forcing a delivery student to cry in the hallway, when they were trying to frame me for child harassment, they didn't think about their child. Now that the consequences had landed on their own necks, suddenly their child was a shield. First, I said, my tone as cold as ice. I am not Mr. Vaughn. He is the victim, whose restaurant was forced into bankruptcy by your husband's greed. I have no right or desire to tell him to drop his legal claim. Second, I pointed to the security camera mounted above my doorframe. You are currently attempting to offer me a bribe to suppress evidence in an active civil fraud investigation. This conversation is being recorded. Brenda's breath caught in her throat. Her face turned from pale to pure white. If you don't leave my doorstep in 5 seconds, I added softly, I will hand this recording over to Mr. Vaughn's attorney as additional proof of witness tampering. Brenda stepped back as if she had been burned by hot iron. She clutched her folder, looked at me with a mix of terror and profound hatred, turned around, and ran up the stairs. I shut the door and clicked the heavy bolt into place. They were panicking now. And when desperate people panic, they make stupid choices. I knew Derek wasn't done yet. A cornered rat always tries to bite before it drowns. I opened my phone, tapped the home security app, and upgraded my cloud storage. subscription to ultra-high definition, real-time off-site backup. Let him try whatever he wanted. Every move he made would simply be another brick in his prison wall. Saturday night passed in uncanny silence. There was no bowling ball thumping from 1301. No scraping of furniture. The floor above me was as quiet as a grave. That silence was more telling than any noise. On Sunday afternoon, I went down to the basement parking garage to head to the supermarket. My car was parked in space B2-114, directly under a concrete pillar. As I approached my vehicle, my footsteps slowed down. The driver's side door of my black sedan had a deep, jagged scratch extending from the front headlight all the way to the rear tail light. The paint was gouged down to the bare metal, fresh metal shavings still glinting on the concrete floor below. Near the front tire, a fresh pool of clear liquid was dripping from beneath the engine bay. Someone had cut my windshield washer fluid line and keyed the entire side of my car. I didn't yell or throw a fit. I stood there, looking at the damage calmly. The garage didn't have total security coverage, but I knew the building's layout. Space B2-114 was located directly in the blind spot of the main corridor. Camera, a detail only someone living in the building for a long time would know. Derek thought he had found a blind spot. He didn't know that 3 months ago, after a neighbor's car was bumped in the garage, I had installed an internal dual-lens dashcam with a motion-activated 360-degree radar guard that operates even when the engine is completely off. I walked over to the driver's door, tapped the door handle twice, and activated the vehicle's central display console. I accessed the radar event log for the last 12 hours. One event flagged at 2:14 a.m. I clicked play on the high-definition night vision recording. The infrared camera clearly captured a man wearing a dark hoodie and a surgical mask walking up to the side of my car. He pulled a heavy brass key out of his pocket and dragged it forcefully down the side panel, his eyes glinting with a vicious, satisfied smirk. As he leaned down to snip the rubber hose near the front wheel, his mask slipped down past his chin. His face was displayed in crystal clear, illuminated detail. It was Derek Sutton. I saved the raw video file onto a USB flash drive, locked the car, and took the elevator straight back to my apartment. I didn't call the police immediately. Damage to property under $2,000 is often treated as a minor misdemeanor, resulting in a small fine or probation. But if the repair costs exceed $5,000, it crosses the threshold into felony criminal destruction of property. My car was a custom metallic finish import. A full side panel repaint and specialized assembly repair at an authorized dealership would easily cost over $6,500. I picked up my phone, dialed the authorized dealership service center, and requested a formal, itemized repair estimate based on high-resolution photos of the damage. An hour later, the official PDF document arrived in my inbox. Official repair estimate, Apex Automotive 1. Full side panel metal. Restoration and triple coat metallic paint. $4,800 2. Engine bay hose harness. Replacement and fluid flush. $1,400 3. Labor and calibration fees. $750 total. Estimate, $6,950. I printed out the estimate, attached the 4K video file from my car's dashcam, and placed everything neatly inside a plastic document sleeve. Now, Derek wasn't just facing a civil lawsuit from the restaurant owner. He had officially earned himself a felony criminal charge. Monday morning, 9 a.m. Instead of going to work, I drove directly to the municipal police precinct, the same precinct where Officer Carter worked. When Officer Carter saw me walk into the station holding a thick folder, he let out a dry chuckle. "Mr. Lee, don't tell me 1301 is at it again." "Officer Carter," I said, setting the folder on his desk. "I'm filing a formal criminal complaint for felony destruction of private property." Officer Carter opened the folder, flipped through the official $6,950 repair estimate, and then plugged my USB drive into his workstation computer. When the night vision footage played on his monitor, showing Derek's face fully exposed as he keyed the car and cut the lines, Officer Carter's smile vanished completely. His expression turned grave. "This is night vision, clear face identification," Carter noted, leaning closer to the screen. "And the damage estimate exceeds the $5,000 felony threshold. This isn't a civil dispute anymore, Mr. Lee. This is a deliberate criminal act." "I know," I said calmly. "That's why I brought everything you need to execute an arrest." Officer Carter stood up, pulling his jacket off the back of his chair. "Stay here for a moment. I'm getting my partner. We're going to pick him up." 20 minutes later, 2 police cruisers pulled up outside our apartment building. I rode in the passenger seat of Officer Carter's car. When we stepped into the building lobby, Manager Vance from Property Management was standing near the front desk. Seeing 2 uniformed police officers walking in alongside me, his jaw nearly hit the floor. "Officers," What happened? Vance asked nervously. We are executing an arrest warrant for Derek Sutton in Unit 1301 for felony destruction of property, Officer Carter announced in a firm, booming voice that echoed across the entire marble lobby. Several residents who were getting their morning coffee stopped in their tracks, pulling out their phones to watch. We took the elevator up to the 13th floor. Officer Carter knocked hard on the door of 1301. Police. Mr. Derek Sutton opened the door. Inside, there was a frantic scramble of footsteps, followed by Brenda's frightened voice. Who is it? What's going on? Police department. Open the door immediately. The lock clicked, and Brenda pulled the door open a crack. When she saw two armed officers and me standing behind them, her face turned paper white. Where is Derek Sutton? Carter demanded. He went to work. Brenda stammered, her eyes darting toward the back hallway of the apartment. Ma'am, providing false information to law enforcement is an offense, Carter warned, stepping past her directly into the living room. From the master bedroom closet, a sudden clatter echoed as a stack of shoe boxes fell over. Officer Carter and his partner walked straight to the bedroom, pulled open the closet doors, and dragged a trembling Derek out from behind a pile of winter coats. Derek wasn't wearing his usual cocky smirk anymore. His face was blotchy, his hair unkempt, and his hands were shaking violently. Officers, what are you doing? Why are you grabbing me? Derek shrieked, struggling uselessly against the officer's grips. I didn't do anything. Derek Sutton, you are under arrest for intentional felony destruction of private property exceeding $5,000, Officer Carter stated coldly, pulling out his handcuffs. Clink. The cold steel cuffs snapped tightly over Derek's wrists behind his back. No. You have no proof. You can't arrest me. Derek screamed, his voice pitching into a hysterical wail as he was forced to his knees on his own living room rug. I stepped forward, standing right in front of him, looking down into his terrified eyes. The radar dashcam inside my car captures in 4K night vision. Derek, I said softly. Your mask slipped at 2:14 a.m. The footage is already sitting on the prosecutor's desk. Derek froze. His eyes bulged out as if he had just been struck by lightning. Brenda fell to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. Derek, I told you to stop. I told you not to go down there. Take him down, Officer Carter ordered. The two officers lifted Derek by his arms and marched him out into the hallway. As he was dragged past the open elevator doors, several neighbors on the 13th floor stood in their doorways, taking photos and videos with their phones. The man who had terrorized delivery drivers, ruined local businesses, and vandalized his neighbor's property was being led away in handcuffs like a common criminal. Derek's arrest sent shockwaves through the entire residential complex. By noon, the video of Derek being led out of the building in handcuffs was posted in the community chat. The same neighbors who had initially been tricked by his fake sob story were now openly condemning him. 804 Mrs. Chun. Good riddance. A guy like that living in our building was a safety hazard. 1102 Mr. Lin. Felony property damage? He's definitely going to jail. 603 Sarah. I heard the property management is starting formal eviction proceedings against 1301 today for severe lease violations and criminal activity on premises. I sat in my quiet apartment, sipping tea, watching the updates roll in. 2 days later, Curtis Vaughn called me again. His voice sounded lighter than it had in months. Mr. Lee, Curtis said, genuine warmth in his tone. I wanted to let you know. The food delivery platform reviewed the police arrest records and the evidence files you provided. They've completely cleared our restaurant's record, removed the blacklisting, and restored our merchant account. That's great news, Mr. Vaughn, I smiled. We're reopening the restaurant next Monday, Curtis continued. And my lawyer informed me that because Derek Sutton is now facing felony criminal charges, his defense in our civil lawsuit has completely collapsed. His family's assets have been frozen by the court to secure restitution for our business losses. He brought it all on himself, I said. When we reopen, the first meal is on me, Curtis said firmly. You're our guest of honor. I'll be there, I replied. 3 months later, the early winter sun shone brightly through the clean, spotless glass of my balcony. The repair on my car had been fully completed, paid for entirely through the court-ordered asset forfeiture seized from Derek's accounts. Down at the municipal courthouse, Derek's criminal trial had concluded earlier that week. With overwhelming digital evidence, police testimony, and a history of repeated fraudulent activities, the judge showed zero leniency. Derek Sutton was sentenced to 2 years in state prison for felony property destruction and commercial fraud, alongside a mandatory restitution order totaling over $120,000. To Curtis Vaughn and myself, unable to pay the massive restitution fees and the remaining mortgage on Unit 1301, Brenda was forced to put their apartment up for judicial foreclosure, auction, and move out of the city with her son. Unit 1301 was now completely empty. The quiet above my head was absolute and serene. On Monday evening, I drove downtown to the grand reopening of Curtis Vaughn's restaurant. The place was packed with customers. Red congratulations banners hung outside the entrance, and the air was filled with the mouth-watering scent of fresh, home-cooked food. When Curtis saw me walk through the door, his face lit up with a massive smile. He immediately walked out from behind the counter, holding a hot, steaming platter of roasted meats. "Mr. Lee, welcome," Curtis called out proudly, leading me to the best table by the window. Shelby Vaughn rushed out from the kitchen, holding 2 glasses of fresh juice, her eyes beaming with gratitude. "Everything on the menu is yours tonight," Shelby said, setting the dishes down. "We wouldn't be here today if you hadn't stood up against that crook." I looked at the bustling restaurant, the smiling faces of the staff, and the warm golden light reflecting against the windows. I raised my glass toward Curtis and Shelby with a small, quiet smile. "To honest living," I said softly. "To honest living," Curtis repeated, clinking his glass against mine. I took a bite of the food. It was hot, rich, and perfectly spiced. Outside the window, the city lights flickered against the night sky, quiet, peaceful, and entirely undisturbed.